Alright, today I'm going to be wiring in O2 simulator in 2002 Lexus IS300. Put an aftermarket header in there. Obviously, there's no catalytic converters now in the front, so it's throwing the code for those. So I ordered an oxygen sensor simulator. I'm going to wire it up here into the ECU. First thing I'm going to do is just take off all the 10 millimeter nuts on the ECU cover here. They just come right off, and the cover's there, so I'm going to take those off here real quick. Okay, so here's the oxygen sensor simulator I purchased. I purchased it off, I believe it was o2simulators.com. I'll have to double check, but this is it. Obviously, it's really simple, only 4 wires to it. Comes with very generic instructions, so I'm disregarding those, just following a write-up on one of the forums from people that know it has worked. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. There will be 2 wires. You just tap into the power and ground. That's simple, just like anything else. And other ones you're going to cut, and one side you're going to leave disconnected. The other one you're going to connect to the O2 simulator, so it tricks the ECU into thinking that everything's all good and it's sensing the catalytic converter working and things like that. So I'll show you how to do that. Excuse the wiring on this SRT intake chip that was already in there. I'm going to be redoing that soon because it looks like they used some cheap blue tape, and who knows if they soldered. I'm going to be soldering my connections here, so I'll show you how we do that. Okay, and the first thing I'm doing here is I'm going to hook up my power and ground. So it looks like I found those there, which is, my ground looks to be that white with a black stripe or black with a white stripe. It's hard to tell exactly. And then my power looks to be this thicker black with a red stripe. So I'm going to be tapping power to that one there and ground to this one here. I'm going to be soldering those in. I'm not going to cut this wire. I'm just going to strip off some of the insulation on both of these and solder my power and ground into there to power it up, and then I'll show you how to get the bank 1 and bank 2 sensors as well. Okay, so now you can see here I tapped in the red from the O2 simulator to the big black and red, and then the black to it to the white with a black stripe. Power there and ground there, and they're just tapped right now. I'm waiting for my soldering iron to heat up, and I'm going to solder them and then tape them up with good 3M tape. Try not to use cheap crap because this is under the hood and it's your ECU, so you don't want that stuff coming off, slipping off, whatever it may be. Like these people use some cheap blue crap, so I will be doing another video to redo that because that's just garbage. But yeah, that one looks like they actually did solder, so they impressed me there. Judging by the blue crap tape they used, I wasn't expecting solder at all, so that's a plus at least. But yeah, I'm going to be soldering those here shortly, and then I'll move on to the bank 1 and bank 2 sensors, which the wire is for, and the next plug over up in the top there. I'll show you once I get to that point. Okay, so now you can see I got my power and ground soldered there, so I'm going to go ahead and tape them up and move on to the bank 1 and bank 2 sensors for the oxygen sensors. Okay, and then moving on here to the O2 sensor wires here, and the next plug over from where you had the power and ground. So I'll get all that out of the way. I pushed all the other wires out of the way. Top left corner and the one right under it. So I'm going to go ahead and clip those probably about here. So I have plenty of room on that side, plenty of room on this side to reconnect them if needed for some reason in the future. I don't foresee needing to, but it's just a preventative measure. Then we're gonna cut them, tuck the car side away, and just tape off the ends. And the other two, we're gonna connect our white wires from the O2 simulator here, and we're gonna solder those and heat shrink them. And then that'll pretty much be it. Okay, and I got the wire cut, got it connected to the O2 simulator, so you can see what went on here. Those 2 wires there are just going to remain tucked away. I'm going to tape the tips off. I still haven't soldered these, so I'm going to go ahead and solder those right there, solder there, heat shrink them, and then I'm going to probably wrap all these wires together neatly so they're not just flopping around like that, which apparently the previous owner didn't care about when they did the SRT intake wiring, but yeah, I'll show you how I do that here. Okay, now you can see I got the wires soldered, and I'm just going to slide my heat shrink over top of them here, and then just put a lighter to them so they melt down. I'll show you how that happens here. pretty self-explanatory, but in case you've never done it. Just hold the lighter and it shrinks down. Obviously, hence the name heat shrink. It shouldn't take much, just a few quick passes and it's good. You can give them a tug. Be careful when you first do it because they'll be a little hot, but yep, those are good. So yeah, it's already set to go. I could wrap it up at this point, but I'm going to clean up this wiring here. I might even put a little loom on it if I have some. Otherwise, I'm going to tape it all together so it goes nice and neat here. But yeah, I mean, it's really simple installation, just 4 wires here. I'm going to have to clear my check engine light because I've been driving like this for a little while, but I will be doing about 45-minute trip later. So I'm going to double check, make sure it doesn't come on, and then I'll film that and let you know how that goes. Okay, so you can see here now I taped that up, all the wires there so they're nice and neatly bundled together. I zip tied the wires to their respective harnesses here, and on these ones I did it around the heat shrink part, these ones I did around the tape part just in case it ever starts to unravel it. It won't, I mean it's under a cover and everything like that, but just in case I did that. But yeah, that's the finished product. I just got to clip these zip tie ends there. And then I'm good to go, and I'll probably just end up tucking this guy, down up under here, putting it there, make sure it doesn't pinch or anything, and then I'm good to go as far as that goes. So yeah, pretty simple process overall. Just gotta be careful to actually solder your wires. I wouldn't recommend using butt connectors. Butt connectors work, just what I've found is the majority of people don't crimp them properly and just use those cheap Walmart crimpers / stripper combos, which don't crimp into them. If you're gonna use crimpers, I would recommend using something like these here, where they actually have the little nub in there. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good crimp. People are always using cheap ones, and they won't crimp properly. I choose to solder, especially when it comes to ECU stuff. But if you are going to crimp, make sure you get this style crimpers. Don't use those cheap Walmart things because the wire can just pull right out of those. With these, you can crimp it and then tug on it, and it's not going to come out. Once you have it all wired in and everything, to go ahead and test it, just to test that, make sure you wire the power and ground aspect of it at least right, is turn the key on, you'll see it blinking like that. So that's the green light's going to be blinking. You can kind of see it over in the corner there. So that's how you know it's working. Obviously it's wired up right, so next step is throw it all back together. And here, just showing real quick, I got it tucked away. I just brought it right up under the harness here, and then a nice little spot down in there. And then I'm just going to put the cover back on, put the 310mm bolts back in, fasteners, whatever you want to call them. And then it's good to go. And then I'm just going to clear my check engine light. And I got a 45-minute trip later, so before when I'd clear it, it'd come back in like a 20-minute drive. So this will be a good test whether this works or not, which I've heard good reviews, but I have heard of people getting duds and stuff, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so here's the finished product. Obviously, can't even tell there's anything in there because there's a cover there. Another thing I did want to show is with the headers that I got, or the header, whatever you want to call it, I did have to get an oxygen sensor bung welded in, and you can see that third one down there. Because of the one in the back there, it was too close to the firewall. I could not get it to fit, so I ended up having to go to exhaust shop. Guy only charged me like $25 to weld the bung in, and then I did have to extend the wiring for it though to reach up top, which wasn't a huge deal. It was only 4 wires you have to extend. No big deal there. Just make sure if you do that, you're soldering. Really, I probably didn't even need that thing in there, but I'd like to have it in there since even though I'm doing I have the O2 simulator, but yeah, just kind of showing that where that bung was welded down there. Any exhaust shop should be able to do it. They have those. They do exhaust all day long. So, yep. Okay, so here I've driven about 45 minutes-ish with the O2 simulator in. Haven't gotten a check engine light yet. It's been about 50 miles or so. So I'll see on the way home, make sure it doesn't come on, and we'll see if that simulator worked out.